I think I'm going to get started simply because I've got a lot of territory I want to cover today, and I don't want to rush through it, and I also want to give you a chance to try some of the products out that I have made and see if you like them or not. This is part 3 of our Zero Waste workshop. It's Zero Waste Cleaning. I'm Rachel Bhattacharya, and I'm a member of Zero Waste Gainesville. My background, I'm retired right now, but my background is I was a registered nurse. I used my nursing and did some education in health sciences program in a high school. I then became a high school librarian and then a reference librarian, and then I retired. So I've had a lovely time going through different things. One thing I want you to take away from this, it's been mentioned by Amanda and Nina, and I want to mention it too. There is no single right path to zero waste. And that really applies to cleaning. There are so many options out there, and it needs to be your decision as to what you do. Whatever you choose to do, the rate in which you choose to do it, it's up to you, because every little bit that we do makes a difference, and that's what we have to take home with us. If we set our sights so big and so high, it becomes a bit overwhelming, and we need to realize it's just a step-by-step process along that path. And what we hope to do is to share and support each other in that journey to zero waste. So I'm going to share with you today why I choose to make all of my cleaning products and why I choose to buy all my laundry products. And I might go into making my laundry products as well, but I'm not there yet. So my outline is we're going to talk a little bit about clothing and laundry, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about cleaning products and the ingredients in those products. We're going to investigate 2 companies. One is going to be a regular company that you all know, and one is going to be a green company, and see how they compare. I'm going to share some of the recipes that I have tried out and liked. And then I'm going to offer you some cautionary advice from some science educators. So let's start with clothing and laundry. What are the environmental issues of clothing and laundry? Well, it turns out they're huge. The clothing industry is the second dirtiest industry in the world. It's second only to oil. I was quite surprised when I first heard that, but then I started to think about it. And when you think about the raw materials alone, you're taking agricultural products, you're taking oil. Neither one of those industries is particularly compliant when it comes to the environment. Then you're talking about making textile, and you're talking about chemicals, dyes, and lots of water. Then you're talking about the globalization of fashion and that carbon footprint that has. And then, finally, and this is the biggest aspect of it, is the consumption. And that consumption has simply skyrocketed in the last few decades. They call it fast fashion now. They are trying to promote, the fashion industry is trying to promote this fast fashion, getting you to discard items and buy new. That is their goal, and they're achieving that. The Textile Today magazine reports that nearly 3/5 of all clothing produced in 1 year is either incinerated at the end of that year or it's in the landfill. So where can we make a difference? And it's been said in each one of our presentations, we need to frequent thrift stores to supplement our wardrobes as much as we can. And that actually I learned just recently as part of that circular economy that Amanda mentioned in her presentation in Gainesville. I don't know that that's the case everywhere, but it is in Gainesville. If you donate items to the thrift stores in Gainesville, they will separate out what they think they can sell, and then they're going to send the remainder of those back to industry to be remade into clothing. The only problem with that is we're still really top-heavy on that first part of that circular economy, the production part, the consumption part. And that's the part we need to work on, because we're not returning enough clothes, first of all, back to industry to be recycled through to have a true circular economy. It's been estimated that if you extend the lifespan of clothing by just 3 months, you will reduce the carbon and water footprints and the waste generation by 5 to 10%. Think if you extended that by 9 months, or 2 years, or 5 years. I have to confess that I have clothes that date back to college. That tells you a lot about me, I think. But I do not like to throw clothes away. But I'm right in step now. I wasn't always in step, but I am now. So what we need to do then is we need to buy less clothing, we need to wear our clothing longer, we need to recycle, and we need to repurpose our clothing as much as possible. The next thing is washing and drying clothes. Washing and drying your clothes has the greatest impact on the lifespan of your clothing, because every time you wash and dry, you release fibers into the environment. So if you have a septic tank, you're aware of this because those fibers can clog up your septic tank. Otherwise, for those of us who are in the city, it just goes right into our waterways, and it is treated, but unfortunately, some of that doesn't pass through. The filters aren't fine enough to capture some of those fibers. The problem is that most of our clothes now have a synthetic component to the clothing. And so what we're generating is these synthetic fibers, microfibers that can't be broken down by the environment. So when they've cut fish open, what they have found is synthetic fibers lining their digestive tract, for instance. I talked to a UF professor about this recently, and he said we really don't know the scope of this problem at this point. So we don't really know what the solution is. We know that they're in our waterway, but we don't know if it poisons our land or not. We just simply don't know. So what he recommends, and actually every place I've looked recommends, is that we wash our clothes less often. And actually when I started to think about that, I thought, I am guilty of washing my clothes a lot. Do I know that they're dirty? I really don't assess that. Only in the last few months have I taken the time to really look at my clothing and analyze, is this really dirty or is it not? I would just simply throw it in with the rest of the laundry, and I'd be doing laundry over and over and over again. And by reducing the amount of clothes that I wash, I've actually reduced the amount of laundry significantly. The other thing I would do, I'm really affected by odors. So if I went into a restaurant and I came out and my hair and my clothes smelled like that restaurant, it really irritates me. And I would go home, peel off my clothes, throw them in the laundry. Were they dirty? No. They had absorbed those odors from wherever I was. And so what I do now is I hang them outside to air, and it's amazing how clean and fresh they come back into the house. And so I've learned a lot just with those two different things in terms of reducing my impact on the microfibers in our environment. The last thing I'd like to bring up, though, is we've got to somehow introduce this concept early to children. They are fashion conscious by the time they're in late elementary school. And that is only entrenched by middle school, and having taught in a high school, oh my Lord, that is really entrenched by that time. And I don't want to make these kids feel like dorks. That's not my goal here. But we have to find a way for them to be able to generate their own fashion statement and stay within the rules of a sustainable society. And I think I have one suggestion as a librarian. I think for little kids, you just need to start that conversation with them. And one way is to read them stories. And one story that I just love, in fact, every mother that I know who has a baby, I give them this book along with a few others because I think it is just a perfect book. And it's called Joseph Had a Little Overcoat. And what this is about repurposing one article of clothing. It doesn't preach anything, it simply tells a story, but I think it could really stimulate a conversation. And I think that's where we have to start. We have to start these values very, very early with children. So I'm going to pass this around. If you want to look at it, you can. But it's something that we really do need to address because we're talking about the second dirtiest industry in the world. So I'd like to talk just a little bit more about synthetic fibers. Patagonia thought they were doing the world a great favor when they started grinding up all these plastic bottles and making fleece. Little did they know that they were creating an even bigger problem on the other side, that these microfibers from this plastic was going into our waterways. Well, they feel really badly about this, and they should, because they didn't do their due diligence when they were doing the beginning part of it. But to their credit, Patagonia has paired up with Oceanwise, and they're conducting research right now, and they've completed stage 1 of their research. What their findings are is, generally speaking, the older a piece of clothing is, the more fibers it releases. The fluffier the fabric, so we're talking fleece here, and other things that are fluffy and polyester, or plastic, or the more brushed a fiber is, the greater the release of microfibers into the environment. They've estimated that a single fleece jacket can shed as many as 250,000 synthetic fibers when it's washed. The hotter the wash water that you use, the more fibers that are released. The cheaper the fabric that you have, the more fibers that are released. And this is from their website, and it's a picture of the fibers caught in a fine mesh. And they have 4 suggestions from this early research that they want to share. The first one we've already covered, which is wash your clothes less often. The second one is, when you wash this type of clothing, use a delicate cycle because it agitates less, and so it doesn't release the fibers as readily. The third one, they're just putting this out there. They're not saying you have to go out and buy a front-loading washer. But front-loading washers seem to agitate less and cause less of that release of microfibers than a top-loading washer. And then their final suggestion is to install a lint trap. We're not talking about the lint traps that you can put on the hose at the end of the washing machine, because that's not going to capture some of these microfibers. We're talking about a finer filter than that. And I have to tell you, I have struggled with this fleece thing. I didn't know if I should give up my fleece. I didn't know if I should give it away, but you know what? Then I'm passing that problem on to somebody else. So I did a little research, and I read an article that said that Patagonia had developed something called a guppy bag. And so I looked, and they do. They have a guppy bag that you can put your fluffy clothes in and wash them along with your laundry. Am I recommending that you get this? No, not necessarily, only if you would want to. It's not cheap. It's not horribly expensive. I think it's overall cheaper than if I had chosen to install a lint trap. It runs about $40, but what it's done for me is it's kind of rested that guilt that I was feeling, wanting to do something a step further until we know what the solution is. So this is something you have to decide. I'm just saying this is an option. I'm going to pass this around too so you can have a look at how fine a mesh we're talking about here. Now, they guarantee that it does trap the microfibers. Do I know that? No. I'm going on their word. But I think that they feel sufficiently guilty about this that they really want to solve this problem.
Is there one you can put on the hose?
You know, I went online looking for that, and I did see something that you can actually mount, and it looks like a micro kind of filter. I don't know if it's a micro enough to capture that. Again, one thing that the UF professor said to me is we don't really even know how small some of these fibers are to capture them. I think what I'm at this point trying to do is at least reduce my impact. So I don't have an actual answer for that, only because I think we're kind of waiting to see where this research takes us. So let's move on to products and ingredients.
So, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
How much do you put in this? Do you leave it so that it's got a lot of space around it? Or
you know what? I have put maybe 3 or 4 items, not real big items, in there. Anything that's a little fluffy. And it seems to be wet enough. It seems like the water has circulated around in it. reading the comments on it, some people have said, I don't have any fibers in it. And then there's been some responses that they say, well, it might be that you have a higher quality fabric. They said if you wash several times using that bag, you might find some fibers. Other people have written in and said, wow, I love this. I wish you made a bag big enough that I can put one of my fleece blankets in, for instance. I've not tried washing a fleece blanket.
So all fleece is made out of some kind of plastic fiber?
Fleece, at least, okay, yeah, I think that's true. It's a synthetic fiber. All fleece is some kind of synthetic fiber. And the fleece that Patagonia they kind of originated, I think, the fleece. They came out with this concept, I think, were at least one of the front runners in it. Now, their quality of fleece is very good compared to some. And so I think what we're dealing with here is still this issue that we don't know how big the problem is. And that's what the UF professor said to me. He said, we don't know how big this problem is. We just know it's a problem. So.
Do you wipe the?
What I do is and the directions say you just kind of go up onto the edges where they tend to gather. And then I'm very careful with how I dispose of it. I have a little container that I dispose in. Do I know that I'm making a huge impact? I really don't know. It's just something I've chosen to do. Okay, so let's talk about products and ingredients. I had to ask myself, what do I want from a cleaning product? And the first thing I want is an environmentally friendly ingredient. The second thing I want, responsible packaging. The third thing I want is a reduction of the overall environmental impact. And what I mean by that is I want to consider the entire environmental cost of an item. And the way I'm going to describe that is I'm going to talk about a company called Attitude. I went out looking for an environmentally friendly product, and this one came very highly recommended, so I ordered some of their items, and they all came in these lovely, thick plastic bottles. So, they're great. I mean, the product inside is wonderful. So I wrote them an email and I said, is there any way I can get these refilled? What are you going to do about this? Because I don't want to keep buying these plastic bottles from you. And they said, these are recyclable. We factored that into our decision. This is what we're going to offer. Well, it turns out that Attitude is sold out of Canada. So when I ordered these products, if you think about the carbon footprint of ordering these products from Canada, plus the plastic bottles, Attitude lost my business. I just wasn't going to make that environmental cost for this product just because the ingredients were environmentally friendly, because the overall product is not that environmentally friendly in my estimation. So I decided, this really helped me make a decision. I decided I was going to purchase locally. If I couldn't find the product locally, then I was going to make it myself. So, what constitutes an environmentally friendly ingredient? It's really not that easy to figure out, unfortunately. You've got words like fragrance and additives, and then all these chemicals that who knows what they're supposed to do. And companies aren't even required to list all of the ingredients, and this is my assumption. I don't know this is fact. I tend to think that they will take some of their most offensive ingredients and put them under terms like fragrance and that type of thing. I don't know that for a fact, but that's my opinion. Even some environmental products have some problems with some of their products. And so you have to really be careful as to what you choose. Just because it says it's an environmental product and it's been well known to be an environmental product doesn't make it an environmental product. A lot of these ingredients can cause health issues. One being they can be endocrine disruptors. They can cause cancer. There's other issues that are linked to them. We have a big upsurge in asthma and autoimmune diseases, and some of those have been linked to some of these ingredients. The problem is we can't ever make a direct link between them. But we do see that we are awash in chemicals and we have all these issues going on, and we're wondering, is there a problem here? And then, by using them, we pollute our indoor atmosphere terribly. Some of the examples of chemicals, you might have heard of phthalates as one. Phthalates is something that's put in a lot of plastic that makes it more malleable and easier to manipulate and use. It's also linked with the fragrance part of the chemical list that they talk about. Triclosan is another one. Now this one is listed on the package ingredients. It is an antimicrobial, but do we really need to disinfect everything in our lives? And it gives us a false assurance because in fact it doesn't kill all the microorganisms. It doesn't kill viruses and it doesn't kill mold. It might not kill all of the bacteria that's out there, and consequently you can really have a chance of developing some resistant strains. So you're really compounding this issue. And I'm going to say this at this point. I was going to say it later, but I think I'm going to say it now. We have been conditioned to think that we need to disinfect our house. We don't. We need to clean our house. Cleaning our house is elbow grease and cleaning solutions, not disinfecting solutions. We need to sanitize some parts of our house, like the bathroom and the kitchen. Sanitize simply means to reduce our microbes in our house. Disinfectants are important to use if you have someone who has a compromised immune system, or if you've got flu going around your house and that type of thing. But it's not something we have to do day after day, week after week. So where are these compounds found? Well, they're found in cleaning products. They're found in our food. They're found in our carpeting. They're found in our furniture. They're found in our makeup and our medicines. They are found everywhere in our environment. And then we tend to want to then gravitate toward words like natural and organic and green. But the fact of that is that the FDA's definition of that might not be our definition of that. So we have to be careful of that as well. And then finally, most of the containers are plastic. So what are we going to do with all this information? And I really want you to take heart, because there are ways that you can take charge of this in your life. And what I want to introduce you to are two resources. One is a government resource called Household Products. It's out of the National Institute of Health. The other one is EWG, which is Environmental Workers Group. How many of you are familiar with EWG? Okay. How many of you use this pretty regularly as a resource? Cool, great. I first got introduced to this through a book called Slow Death by Rubber Duck. It was published in 2009, I think. I read it in 2010. And this is where two Canadian environmentalists decided that they were going to be the guinea pigs, and they were going to subject themselves to exposure to a lot of chemicals in our lives. And then they were going to monitor what the effects were. Draw blood, check your urine samples, monitor how you feel, that kind of thing. And they found out a lot of interesting things. And the other thing they do is they actually give you the history of some of these products and how they've been introduced into our lives. It's very well reviewed. It's very well researched. There was some criticism of the book because they said that it was a bit of a sensational approach. But my estimation is that we need a bit of a sensational approach to get this word out. I found it very readable. It really opened my eyes, and I would credit this book with really getting me on this track of where I am right now. So I'll pass this around to you.
Are both authors still alive?
Yes, I think so. I think at the time that they did this, they both had children. Because a lot of these endocrine disruptors affect males more than females in terms of sperm production and that type of thing, one of them had a son, and he was particularly concerned, and he wanted to determine how he could protect his children. He maybe had two sons at the time. I think they're both young. They were both kind of surprised at how they felt on each chapter. It's not something I would do, but I am impressed that they were willing to do it. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the household products website, just how it operates, and then we're going to do two searches. We're going to search for a product that is very commonly used in terms of cleaning, and then an environmentally friendly product, and we're going to see how they come out, and then we're going to see who the winners are, which is very appropriate in the week before the Oscars. So I'm going to minimize this. I've already done some of the search. So this is the one that's the household products. It's the database through the National Institute of Health. You can see it's pretty easy to navigate. You've got lots of menus all over the place. And I'm going to click on the one that says Inside the Home. And since I don't make my laundry detergent, we are going to search for laundry detergent. So it's alphabetized here, so I'm going to go down to laundry. And I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on detergent. And then this is also alphabetized, and it's probably every laundry detergent ever made in the knowledge of man that's here. So I'm going to go down to Arm & Hammer. What they have are old products too, and it will be labeled as an old product. The old products have been superseded by newer products, but they keep them here so you can compare the old with the new. And let's see if I can find 2015 here with one of the things. Here we go. So here's Arm & Hammer Laundry Detergent Powder, a 2015 product. What these are MSDS sheets. And do you know what an MSDS sheet is? A material safety data sheet. It was required by OSHA about 20 years ago. Everything that had a product had to have an MSDS sheet. It had to tell you everything about that product, sort of. It doesn't ever go into all those industrial secrets, but somewhat. So what it tells you is the product, who's the manufacturer. It goes into the health effects of this product. Some of these products are rated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as to how dangerous they are. This one is not. Then it goes into how to handle it and how to dispose of it, and then it lists some of the ingredients as well. So that's how that works. It's pretty straightforward. EWG is the other one we're going to use. This is, quite frankly, my favorite one. And what I'm going to do here is, it's got a lot of information throughout this site, but we're going to go into the consumer guides, and we're going to scroll down till we get to the clean, healthy cleaning products. And I don't want the quiz. Fiddly D. Is this going to let me in there? Okay, take the quiz. I don't want the quiz. Let's see if I can. Okay. So this will get me into the database itself. And what we are going to search for is Tide. So this brings up a lot of product range that we saw before. Some of the products are C-rated, and it tells you what are the issues with those ingredients, and then it goes into the B's and the A's. And the A's have things like glycerin and sodium chloride and all these things that we actually know what they are. So this is what it looks like. I brought my BioClean with me. I'm not advocating that you go out and buy this. I'm just saying that this is one. There are many, many products out there that you can look up. You can weigh the pros and cons. You can test them out and see what you like. Or you can make your own. The other one I just want to bring up, we're not going to really look at it, is 7th generation. And the only reason I'm talking about 7th generation is because it's so ubiquitous. You can get it everywhere. And the company itself is called 7th Generation, and I just want to show you that graph that shows the products. Now, they have 9 that score an A, 3 a B, 14 a C, 7 a D, and 1 an F. Now, EWG ranks their laundry detergent as a C. I'm just telling you, I haven't looked any further into it than that. I just know that that's the case. So the winner for me is BioClean for the time being. Whoops, sorry. I'm going to go back. We don't want to start over. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some of my own products, but I want to offer something up that maybe some of you already do, but if you don't do it, I want you to think about doing it. And that is, I lived in Asia for a while, so I adopted it because I lived in Asia, and then my ex-husband is Asian, and all my kids do this. We take our shoes off when we enter the house. And I make all the guests who enter my house take their shoes off too. And you'd be surprised how much cleaner your house is by taking your shoes off before you go in. So just as a starter, I want to put that out there as something to consider. It's kind of awkward at first, and I don't approach them like, you've got to take your shoes off for guests. I offer them socks and that type of thing. People who know me now know this is part of the drill, and they accept that. And they still like me. So I'm going to go over here with my cleaning ingredients and just tell you, this is the stuff I make my ingredients out of. I tried making my own Castile soap. I melted some in hot water, and I thought, wow, this is easy. It melted right away. And then the next day I came and dug on it. It's like a gel, and I don't really know what to do with it anymore. So I'm working on this one. But
dig it out with spoons.
yeah, I read somewhere that if I put glycerin in there, that I might be able to make it a little softer.
You can also maybe do it in, like the kids, like muffin tins or something.
Oh, that's a
And
thought.
then you'd have almost like a tablet of
Yeah, that's a thought. Yeah. And actually, it's soft. I mean, if I was going to mix it up, it mixes up pretty well. But it kind of stumped me, so I'm still working on this one. I just wanted to let you know that was something I was trying. I read about this on a blog, and I thought, oh shoot, I'll give it a shot. And it's called Salsuds, and it's a biodegradable detergent. Now you might say, what's the difference between a detergent and soap? Well, soap has been around since about 2000 BCE. Detergents have been around since about the beginning of the 20th century. Most detergents are made out of chemicals, and what you can do with detergents is you can mix them with acidic substances, and they won't react with each other. If you mix soap, which is an alkaline, with vinegar, which is an acid, they're going to work against each other. They're going to cancel each other out, and all you're going to get is clumps. And that's it. It won't, and then you will have no cleaning power whatsoever. So I thought I would give this a shot and see what I think about it. And I did try one thing that I really like, and I'll talk about that when I get to my products. But this is a detergent. It's made from a plant-based substance, and I'm in trial. I do this. It's like I really enjoy doing this, quite frankly, because it's like doing experiments. This is Castile soap. Amanda mentioned something earlier. Dr. Bonners uses palm oil. Palm oil is not very environmentally friendly. And she suggested that Kemp's is another way to go because they do not use palm oil, and you can get that at Ward's. Kirk's. I kept wanting to call it Kemp's. This is the second time I've called it Kemp's. It's Kirk's. I know it's a K word. So I'm just telling you about that. And I was going to see if I could just go ahead and make my own, but you know where that went. So, okay. These are disinfectants, actually, and if you wanted to wipe down your countertops, you can. It's hydrogen peroxide, and it's alcohol.
You mix them or either?
You can just do it straight out. This is already diluted, and you can put a little spray thing on the top and just spray it on and wipe off on your countertops if you want. You can wipe down your countertops also with alcohol. These are my essential oils. I do want to talk a little bit about essential oils because you want to investigate what's the farm behind this. Are they organic? Do they treat their workers right? Do they treat the land right? All of those things. I would minimize the use of them in terms of, like, some recipes will call for 30 drops. 30 drops is more than enough. I would minimize them because if you look up here, and I just used lavender as one example, you need 150 pounds of lavender plants, of raw material, to make 1 pound of lavender essential oil. It's a lot of raw material. And In the fact sheet that I'm going to send out, there's an article that Nina had found that she shared with me that gives you some other cautionary tips on essential oils. Of course, we all know that vinegar is good. I use wool dryer balls in my dryer. This is my soap for the kitchen, and it has a really high rating. It's E-Cover, and there's no scents or anything in it. This I've had for 5 years. I don't just think I went out and bought this plastic bag of baking soda. I had this before I was really aware of zero waste, and so when it's gone, I'm going to do bulk baking soda. I love baking soda. Baking soda has a pH of 8. It's not very caustic, and it's mildly abrasive. You can get what you want out of baking soda. So I'm a big fan.
Can you mix baking soda with vinegar, or like you said,
No. You're going to get a nice reaction from it. It's going to bubble and act like it's doing great things, and it's doing nothing but creating a salt, really. So, yeah. Borax. You might have feelings about borax. I've included 3 articles in my fact sheet. From things I've read about it, I'm using borax in my laundry, but I'm very cautious about it. It gets an F on Environmental Workers Group because it has issues. Most of these issues are associated with if you ingest it. Well, I'm not going to ingest it, but there are recipes out there for a slime that you can make for kids, which I would never make for kids, because the first thing they're going to do is put it in their mouth, and so I kind of wish they'd take that off the internet. But I do use it as a laundry boost. It's really going to be your decision what you choose to do with borax. And then there's washing soda. Washing soda can actually be made from baking soda by putting it in the oven. And then it becomes a coarser substance, but it also becomes a more alkaline substance. It has a pH of 11 at that point. You need to wear gloves if you use this. When I started making different things, I tried to make a cleanser. And I made a cleanser out of salt and washing soda and essential oils, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So if I decide I'm going to do laundry detergent, this will be a great thing to have, so I'm hanging on to it. That might be my next journey.
Can I ask what would that do? Would that be like, almost like bleach? Would that be like cleaning it more? Or is it just a detergent?
I mean, it has the same type of, a lot of the same properties. It's more, this is a milder type of thing. This scrubs better and that type of thing. It's really found, if you look in the ingredients in a lot of laundry detergents, it's found in a lot of detergents. It's very safe. You can't ingest it. This is another thing, you can ingest baking soda. You can do all the time.
Coconut oil to make toothpaste.
Oh, do you? Okay. I'm impressed. Wow. So these are my ingredients here, and now I'm going to go on to my products.
What do you say rarely use lemon?
I'm sorry?
What do you say if they rarely use lemon?
Oh, salt's a great product for a lot of different things. If I've got a wound, I'll soak that wound in salt water. I rarely, are you talking about, the lemon juice? Okay. Lemon juice, I like it. I just don't use it for that so much. I have found other things that I like just as well.
That's good for bleaching, the lemon juice.
It is good for bleaching.
Better
Right.
baking soda.
I still like it.
It is good for bleaching.
Makes a lot of
Hydrogen peroxide is good for brightening things up too, and that type of thing. Salt I find too abrasive, and I kind of go with the washing soda as being kind of abrasive. I almost forgot one of my very favorite products is vodka. Vodka I use instead of vinegar for a lot of different things.
Spray it in your mouth when you're cleaning.
Yeah. Drink a little, pour a little. And I love this product, and it's so simple. It's 50-50. 50 vodka and 50% water with a teaspoonful of dish soap and a little bit of essential oil. I love the way it cleans my countertops and stuff. And you don't have to buy the most expensive bottle of vodka on the shelf. This cost me $6.88 on sale, and I just love it.
Why the vodka?
Pardon me?
The alcohol?
Oh, it is, right, and I'm going to go to this. I put the pH chart up here. So vodka goes on the acidic side. It has a pH of 4, and so it has a cleansing action to it. Not quite as much as vinegar, but sufficient for home use. And it's a very good product, actually, and it doesn't smell like vinegar.
Is that the benefit, the smell?
I guess because I have trouble getting past the vinegar, for me the benefit is that I can't quite compare them in terms of action so much, simply because I think the smell just puts me off of the vinegar a little bit.
Sticky residue?
Say what?
It doesn't leave a sticky residue?
No, in fact, what I've decided to do here is, if we have time, which I hope we do, and I'll rush through the end of this, you can try it. You can spray. I brought some rags with me, and you can try it out and see what you think about it. So I'm going to quickly go through this. In case you don't know how this operates, each one of these sections is 10 times stronger than the one before. So toothpaste is 10 times more base than eggs are. Soap is 10 times more base than toothpaste, 100 times more than eggs. And it works that way on this side of the thing too. So we're not talking just one step, we're talking 10 times. Okay, where can you find these things? Well, you can find them at Walmart if you want. You can find them at Lucky's. Or you can buy them in bulk. And that's what I think I'm going to do when I've used up all my baking soda. I'm going to buy them in bulk at Life Unplastic. And what they have too is that in the essential oils, if you want to, you don't need that much. Essential oils are kind of pricey. And so they have these little 2-gram bottles that you can put the essential, I'm right, isn't it 2 gram?
It's 1, yeah.
1 gram,
Yeah.
okay, 1 gram bottle that you can put the essential oil in and not have to pay $40 and $50. That's what some of these bottles would cost you. And they have some recipes for making your own detergent and that type of thing. So you need to check them out. They also have this nifty little glass bottle that has all sorts of different recipes on it as well. So I bought that one too.
Is it plastic or glass?
It's glass. It's lovely.
Where's that place at?
It's in Thornbrook Shopping Center. If you're just driving in from 43rd, it's in that first part right there. Okay, so my cleaning products, which I'm going to rush through now because I really, really, really want you to try them. Okay, this is my soft scrub. It's made out of baking powder and Castile soap with a little essential oils in it. You can add more Castile soap than what the recipe calls for. I really love this stuff. I clean my sinks with it. I get really nice results from it. I'm going to add more and make it a little bit more of a soft scrub than what it is right now.
It has too much baking soda right now, or?
Well, it started out being nice, but baking soda must really solidify over time because it's gotten a lot more pasty as time
It's
has
also
gone
it's
on.
cold now. You wait till it warms up.
Yeah, and that might help things immensely.
So that's your scrub for clean.
For sinks and that type of thing. I love it. This is my no scrub shower cleaner, and I made this from salsas. It's 50% salsas and 50% vinegar. Now I gotta tell you, it really knocks me out. It's pretty strong. But I can spray it in there and walk away. I can go back and wipe my shower tiles down, and I have not seen my shower tiles as pretty as they are right now. So I am quite a fan of this. Now, the next time I make this, I'm going to use dish soap because they say that you can try dish soap in the vinegar. So I'm just going to try it. I don't ever do anything until I've got it the way I like it. And so I just keep trying until I get it that way.
Which one did you say that, like?
Oh, that mixes together. Okay.
That
so
doesn't mix
That doesn't.
together.
This one, because it's a detergent.
It doesn't mix with.
It does mix with the acid, but something like soap, Castile soap won't, or baking soda, it won't. You can't mix it. It will cancel each other out.
So soap and detergent are different.
They are different.
This one's a detergent.
This one's a detergent. Yeah. Okay. This one is my toilet bowl cleaner. Now this came from a site called My Prairie Homestead or something like that. I've included in my fact sheet. And this is an example of why you need to really think about things and do your research before you decide this is the route you're going to go. It called for hydrogen peroxide and baking soda and all these things mixed together. But it turns out that baking soda and hydrogen peroxide start interacting with each other the minute they have contact with each other, and they form this little gas. So can you imagine it's working away, forming this gas in here, and you open it up, and then whoosh, and it could go in your eye. So she didn't say that, but it happens, because I decided to go ahead and do it and see what happened, and it kind of erupted out of the container and put it in there. So all I did was I took the hydrogen peroxide out, I made the rest of it, and what I do with my toilet is I simply squirt this in, I take my hydrogen peroxide separately and give a healthy dose of it, mix it all together, let it sit for a while, and flush it, and it works great.
Is the hydrogen peroxide septic safe? Septic tank safe?
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay. I didn't think it would because it also says on an empty site.
Okay.
So
What are the quantities?
Well, and I think antiseptic is more in terms of an antiseptic. I could be wrong on this. I don't want to say.
Yeah.
The answer is I don't know.
I think antiseptic is a poisonous septic as opposed to septic.
That's how I think of sepsis, like an infection. These are my dusting solutions. One has oil in it and one doesn't. I like them both. I don't know which one I like better. This one I have to shake to use it because I have to mix that oil up a little bit. And maybe what I'll do is use this some of the time, and when I think my wood products need a little oil, then I'll use this one. I don't know. Haven't made up my mind on that. What's that? No. I did talk about my all-purpose cleaner, right? Okay. Now, this is where I'm at. What I decided to do, I read an article that you can infuse vodka with lemon peel. And so I peeled a lemon. I peeled about 4 lemons. And then I poured vodka over it. And it's been sitting in my refrigerator for 2 weeks. I've got 1 more week to go. And I'm hoping that I will put this through a sieve of some sort and just harvest out the liquid. And what I'm hoping is that I can make this from this and not use my essential oils, is what I'm hoping. So the verdict is out on this one. I don't know what I'm going to find. But it has a lovely fresh scent, I got to tell you. The other thing, I have guests that come and stay with me, family, once a month. And I don't want to impose on them, but I don't want to buy paper towels for them either. And so Nina actually gave me this idea several months ago. And I have made paper towels out of fabric. And then I wrapped it around, and so they come off like this. And then I can wash them and then simply wrap it back up again. So that's what I've decided is my solution for that. So, a couple of cautionary things. How are we doing for time? Okay.
What fabric did you use for your paper towels?
I use flannel. I am really long-legged, and I wanted to make some pajama pants, and so I bought a little extra flannel, and I just made this from flannel. That's what I did. I think you can pink the edges. I did stitch them around, but I think if you used a pinking shear, it would be good enough. One thing I want you to think about when you're doing this. This is like conducting a science experiment. So you really need to know what you're doing. You need to do your due diligence and research what the products are and what the dangers are. I think everything I've told you here, I've researched for you. But if you go out and try other things, you just need to be careful. Things that need to be repeated, never. And I'm not talking about whether you're going to use bleach or not. I just want you to know, never mix bleach and ammonia. Never mix vinegar and bleach. It creates a poisonous fume that can hurt your respiratory system. Never mix hydrogen peroxide and vinegar because it makes peracetic acid, which can cause burns. Never use vodka near a flame, so don't near. I think you get the drift of why. Don't mix Castile soap and vinegar. They cancel each other out, and you won't have anything to clean with. If you have granite or marble countertops, be careful because you can ruin that with some of these substances like baking soda and sodium carbonate, which is the washing soda, Also vinegar. So test it a little bit before you go ahead and do something like that. Vinegar isn't great for cleaning aluminum or cast iron, but it works great on stainless steel. I've already talked about mixing hydrogen peroxide and baking soda. It just starts working the minute you mix them together, and it's not a poisonous fume, it's just a fume with a lot of power behind it. Think about volcanoes that you made in 4th grade, that's what we're talking about here. And then again, that website that I talked about that gave this particular ingredient, she has one that she heats vinegar. I would never heat vinegar because you're going to concentrate the acetic acid. Why do it when I can find something I don't need to heat? And it can be corrosive. So I just be careful with some of these things. Make sure you think about it. In closing, a few reminders from professionals. Being natural doesn't mean it's safe. Make all your homemade products in well-marked, dedicated containers. Date your containers, make them in small quantities. Poison control knows if someone's been poisoned with a product out there, they don't really know if you've been poisoned by one of your products. So just keep that in mind. I'm not dissuading you from it. Don't mix homemade and store-bought products together. Don't mix 2 store-bought products together. Don't mix 2 homemade products together. This is another great resource if you just like to get information. If you just Google Ask Mr. Green, it'll take you to the Sierra Club site. And for instance, one of the articles is what's the best way to recycle packaging. You can write a question into them yourself. They're really interesting reads. He does the research and then writes an article. This is my fact sheet. If you don't get this in the mail in the next couple of days, let me know. And this is our survey. And you can take it on the phone, and please do. It's an end of workshop survey. We want to know what you think about it so that we can prepare for the next one. You're welcome to come up and look at all of this. Go ahead and try these products if you want to. I hope we have some time. Maybe we got 5 minutes, I'm so sorry. But feel free to open them up, smell them, spray them, try them, whatever you want to do. Yes?
Can I just say something? I actually surveyed the dryer sheets that you put in the dryer, and I found out that when they're heated, they've got like a waxy layer on them, and the wax gets into the lint thing, and that's how they catch fire. Because if you take your lint cap out and try running water through it, sometimes water will go through because the wax from the dryer sheets has filled all the holes in.
I read an article about it in terms of that.